Hello and welcome to Dominate the GMAT and your online GMAT video course. My name is Brett Etheridge and I'm really looking forward to working with you to help you get the GMAT score you need to get into the business school of your choice. Whether you're going to be taking the GMAT for the very first time or maybe you've already taken the GMAT and you're looking to improve your score, maybe really hone in on a couple of areas that you need particular help with, no matter what your situation, you've come to the right place. Let me tell you a little bit more about myself so that you know who you're going to be working with. As you can see, a little bit of my experience. I got my undergraduate degree from Duke University. I got a BA in public policy. Now, hopefully I didn't immediately turn you off. I know there are some Duke haters out there, but it was a great place to go to school. I had a wonderful time. And then I moved out to Denver, where I currently live, University of Denver. I got my Master's of International Finance. You can see I have been teaching the GMAT for a long time, and one thing that I'm really passionate about is translating what I have learned, teaching for a major test prep company, a company whose name you've probably heard of, and relating that to you. I've helped um, hundreds, if not thousands of students really dramatically improve their scores, and I look forward to helping you do the same. Some of my interests, interested in sports. You're going to see some sports analogies throughout these videos. Outdoor activities as well. It's part of what drew me out to Colorado to begin with. My wife and I love to bike, to hike, to mountain climb, play golf. You name it, we like to do it. And health and nutrition. I'm very, very passionate about health and nutrition. If you haven't been to this website, just a couple of housekeeping items for you right off the bat. www.mba.com. This is sort of the definitive website for the GMAT. It's where you're going to register. So I encourage you to think ahead a little bit. Time slots fill up. So go to www.mba.com and check out testing dates, testing locations, especially if you're going to need to take the GMAT on a Saturday. Those time slots are in high demand, and so you're going to need to register several weeks probably before you're going to plan on taking the GMAT to make sure that you lock in a location. And logistically, if you have any questions, any problems with the videos, any questions as you're preparing for the GMAT, please, please don't hesitate to contact me. support@dominathegmat.com. Final suggestion for you in terms of housekeeping. I encourage you to liberally use the pause button as you are going through these videos. I encourage you maybe the first time through, hit the pause button regularly. Take notes. You'll see that I will prompt you occasionally to do a little bit of brain work. I'll teach something and then maybe I'll throw an example up on the screen for you. Press pause and try to actually do the problem on your own before you hear me explain it. Obviously, that's where a lot of the learning is cemented in your brain, and then you can press play again, kind of see how I am approaching the problem and make sure you got the right answer. And then I definitely encourage you watch these videos a second time, maybe even a third or a fourth time, maybe just straight through, because a lot of times then you'll pick up on some things that when you're paying attention and you're pausing and you're taking notes, maybe you'll kind of miss out on some things. Maybe listen to it a second time or a third time straight through. Really make sure you get the most out of your course. Let me begin by talking a little bit about the test psychology. If you're like a lot of my students, you may be in a classroom really for the first time in a while. You're looking at taking a standardized test for the first time in a while. And one of the things we know about the GMAT is really everything that's on it. I mean, this may seem weird to say, but the truth is there aren't a whole lot of secrets. And that's really the purpose of this course, is to clue you into um, those secrets I was going to say, but like I just said, they're not really secrets. But the test psychology is important. Think about anything you've tried to learn or master. See, that's the good news. The good news is that you're going to be able to master the GMAT. I mean, if you put in the time, if you obviously you listen to kind of what I'm teaching you and you apply it through practice, you can quote unquote beat the GMAT. You can learn what is on it. But as you may remember from really anything you've tried to master, whether it's a sport, whether maybe it's learning to play an instrument, perhaps a language, learning a language, we understand that there are really some key components to mastering any subject matter, including something like the GMAT. The first is content itself. This is the what to do, right? Anything you're going to learn, what to do. And you see here I have a picture of a golfer. So I'm going to use a golf analogy, but again, apply this to anything in your life that you've tried to learn. I remember when I was learning to play golf, you first need to know what to do. And it may go something like this. Let's say you were one of my students and now we're going to teach you how to play golf. I may start and say something like this. Address the ball, feet shoulder width apart, uh, elbows slightly bent, loose and relaxed. You're going to initiate the swing by rotating your shoulders, bringing the club straight away from the ball. It's going to naturally bring your hips around. As they come around, you're going to gently lift the club up in the air until it's up over your head. Wait until it creates a parallel line with the ground, at which point you're going to initiate the downswing by rotating your hips through, make clean contact with the ball, watching it all the way, follow through high, etc., etc., etc. And of course, you may be laughing if you've ever learned golf, if you've ever taken a golf lesson, you've probably heard something along those lines. And yet, that is clearly what to do. I mean, that's like the textbook definition of what to do. And yet, what if I were to say, okay, now go do it? First of all, you may only remember about a tenth of what I even said anyway. It was fast and it was kind of coming at you and it's all new to you. But second is, we actually now have to learn how to go out and do it. So maybe you learned what to do in terms of playing an instrument, where to put your fingers, etc. But now we have to do it. This is where the rubber really meets the road. And this is really the second component of your overall approach, I think, to learning how to do well on the GMAT. Not only what to do is what these videos are about. I will definitely teach you content. But at the end of the day, your objective should be to get a high score. And so part of that is then going to translate that content, how to do it, or what to do, to how to do it. But even that's not necessarily enough, because what we know next is that we need to commit it to memory. See, I can get you out there on the golf course. We can go play some holes. Now you know what to do, and now you're going to learn how to do it, how to most efficiently and effectively put that ball in the hole. Those are the strategies, the test-taking tips, the little secrets, the little ways to be more efficient in taking the GMAT, which I will teach you as well. But then it is up to you to repeat it over and over and over again until it's second nature. A lot of success on the GMAT comes down to pattern recognition. Can you look at a problem and say, hey, I've seen that problem before. I know what type of problem this is. I'm going to be able to move forward because I've been here before. That's muscle memory, and that takes practice. Practice comes from working problems, which does bring me to a few more miscellaneous tips around test psychology. First is to work on your weaknesses. We want to practice, but if you know anything about professional sports or maybe an instrument like I said, it's easy to play to your strengths. It's easy to sit down and play the same piano song that you have memorized and mastered. It's hard to work on a particular scale that maybe is particularly difficult for you. It's a weakness for you, but we know that once you master it, it's going to open up a whole new world of possibilities for you. At the risk of mixing metaphors here. Same thing in sports, and on the GMAT, you're going to want to focus on your weaknesses. And so I really encourage you actually to take a full-length practice test because that's going to help you pinpoint exactly where you may need a little bit of work. You're going to see where some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses lie. Second thing is to apply the techniques that you are learning in these videos to homework problems. Use the worksheets, work through the book, stick with the syllabus provided to you, and make sure to actually apply the techniques when you're doing the homework problem. It's easy to revert back to kind of our default way of doing something, trying to attack a math problem, for example, the way we've always attacked that math problem, maybe the way we were taught to do the algebra back in ninth grade, and yet you're going to see I'm going to teach you some ways of doing things that may be new to you, that maybe take a little bit of a learning curve for you, and yet if you apply the techniques and the strategies and the tactics I'm teaching, over time it will become easier. That golf swing will become more and more fluid and second nature to you, whereas in the beginning it may be a little rough, a little awkward. Over time with practice, it will get better.
And my third tip is this. You want to work on your GMAT stamina. The GMAT is a long exam, as you're about to find out when we look in more detail at the format of the GMAT, but you need to prepare yourself for that mental grind. And it starts in your practice sessions. You are encouraged to take numerous full-length GMAT practice tests. And in fact, numerous are assigned in your syllabus. So just make sure that you're sticking with the syllabus and treat those practice tests like the real thing. The mistake a lot of students make is they treat their practice test just like an additional source of practice problems. But this is your opportunity to put yourself in the test day mindset. If you're going to take the GMAT on a Saturday morning, for example, and get up on a Saturday morning and get a feel for how fresh your mind is, how often you have to go to the bathroom, for example, and all of those things so that there aren't any surprises on test day. So you want to practice under exam conditions, but the other thing that I would encourage you to do is occasionally schedule longer practice sessions in general. So the other thing a lot of students do is they'll carve out 30 minutes to an hour at a time to prepare for the GMAT. And that's fine. You're busy, you work full-time maybe, you have other things going on, you have a family. You can't always sit down and study for 2 or 3 or 4 hours at a time. But occasionally you should. Because on test day, you have to do that. And so if you have trained your brain to only concentrate for 30 minutes to an hour at a time in your study sessions, what do you think is going to happen on test day? After about 30 minutes to an hour, like at the end of your first section, you're going to start to get mentally tired. And so you need to get over that hump. Just like if you were going to be training for a 10K or a 5K or a marathon running, you would need to train your muscles and your lungs and your heart to be able to run that far. And you can do that, but it takes training. Same thing with your brain, same thing with your mind. So definitely plan for that. And back to the practice tests, when you are taking your practice test, don't skip the integrated reasoning and essay sections. You may feel like those scores aren't quite as important, but schools will still see them. You need to get a respectable score on them, even if they're not quite as important as your main 200 to 800 point score. And so don't neglect those sections. Practice writing the essay in 30 minutes, which is easier said than done. Likewise, on the integrated reasoning section, learn how to manage your time effectively there.